Hey everyone, and welcome to this video about where the best place to build your website is. So, the traditional option that a lot of people know about is WordPress. Now, while this platform is good, it's traditionally made to build blogs on, and it's kind of expanded from there. It has a lot of great features. There's not much you can't do in WordPress, but there are quite a few issues with it. And so I wanted to discuss around what are the other options you can work with without having to get a custom coded website. In my mind, there is nothing better than a custom built website on a proper CMS like Craft CMS, for instance. It's an incredible platform, and if the client can afford it, that is what I would do every single time. But if they can't, then there are a few other options out there which work for me. I do have a preference, and I'm going to go through those today. So let's first talk about the most popular one, and the one I mentioned first in this video, and that's WordPress. WordPress for me is an interesting platform. As I mentioned, there's not much you can't do in it. But I find the user experience and the ease of editing is incredibly hard on WordPress. It's not easy to use. The system behind it is quite old and backdated. The other issue is the plugins. So although the plugins give you this feeling that you can do anything you want, they are also restricting your website. So every plugin is written, well, pretty much every plugin is written by different people. So what you're doing is you're plugging their code into your website, which means there's going to be a lot of overlap and a lot of bloated code, which makes your website load slower, and it also gives security risks. So each plugin you have is another place that people can break into your website and do, DDoS attacks or any kind of other attack on your site. So the paid ones, the ones you pay for, are generally a lot better built. The free ones I would generally stray away from. Because of all this, I find that WordPress sites, they load slowly, they are generally quite reliant on the template that you've used, so there's not as much customization as you would have initially thought, unless you're a developer and you can code it yourself. They're hard to edit, and they have security risks. As I mentioned though, the good thing about WordPress is that there isn't much you can't do on it. If you get a developer in, they can build whatever you want. You can do membership sites, you can do e-commerce, there are some SEO optimization things in there, you can do blogs, you can do everything. Next up is Wix. So this is a platform that I think is built for people who they just want to build their own website. It's very simple, there's not much you can do in it. It's pretty much, Wix already have made blocks and you put them in and you do little edits to them to build your website. It's fairly restricting in terms of what you can do in it, but it does again have some good features. You can do e-commerce in it, you can build membership pages and areas in it, which I think are really good, and it's a really good place to start building a website. The good thing about the limitations of Wix is that the code it creates is fairly simple, fairly easy to read, and so your site should generally load quite quickly. The problem with Wix is it is very much a drag and drop builder, and what I found with this is that nothing stays aligned. You can just place things wherever you want them and it will stay there. So things might be slightly off center and things can start to look strange. It's good for small sites, it's good for personal sites, but I wouldn't use it for much more than that. Next up is Squarespace. This is another one that a lot of people know of, a lot of people have probably used already. So Squarespace is heavily reliant on templates. You pretty much pick a template and that's what your website is. There's no way around it. Again, they do have some great features. You can do e-commerce in Squarespace, I think. It's one of the more expensive options per month, but I find with Squarespace websites you can't really go too wrong. Because you're using a template and because you can't edit that template too much, what you find is that although a lot of websites tend to look the same, they all look pretty good. So considering your website's going to be your number one touch point for potential leads, potential clients, or current clients, having a decent looking website to start with, it's always good, however you've made it. Finally, I'm going to move on to my personal favourite and the one I use for 90% of my websites, and that's Webflow. So Webflow is a builder program similar to WordPress, Squarespace, Wix, but it's not reliant on templates, it's not reliant on any code, it has a great user experience, and it has a lot of functionality that you can build. So the way Webflow works is that you build each section as you would if you were custom coding it, but without having to actually code it yourself. So it's very much visual, so it's great for designers because we can just build the site straight away without having to worry about developers or worrying about any changes. We can tweak everything as we want. But because of this, it does have a few limitations. At the moment, you can't build any membership sites. They've only recently added e-commerce into it. It's still in beta mode, so it's not as well rounded in that sense, so there's not as much functionality. But if you think about your website and what you do on it, you start to realize that most websites can be built on Webflow, and they're going to be a lot better. The code is a lot cleaner, they load super fast. It's crazy fast. They use high-end servers, and it's just easy to update. So a lot of my clients, when they're using the Webflow editor side that they get, they always say it's almost like updating a Word document or a PowerPoint, something they already know so well. You just, if you want to change some copy on your website, you literally tap into it and start typing, and it's as easy as that. It's not perfect for every website. So you've got to start thinking about what site you want and what is the best fit for what you want. I build 90% of my websites on Webflow because I do believe it is the best platform out there. The other ones that I don't build on there, which just can't be built on there, there's no way around it, I will generally get a developer to build on Craft. So that's it for my roundup of where you should build your website and how you should build it. I hope you've learned something, and if you want to know any more about any of the different platforms, let me know in the comments and I will reply to them, maybe even make another video about it.